Hello, my name is Jacob Sargent, and this is my arson video assignment. Hope you enjoy it. Let me know how I do. Arson, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're here to discuss and explain to you this crime that has occurred in our community of arson. Arson is a criminal crime that involves the act of setting fire to personal property and destruction of property by fire in our society. In my closing moment, I'll be explaining to you the history of arson, why it is a crime, and the punishment for arson charges. Arson has been present from the very earliest of times in recorded history, but the elements have changed throughout the years that have arson has developed through our through the timeline of history. Initially, arson was used to protect people in society from criminals burning down buildings and property. So it's more about protecting the persons and the people around the buildings than the actual commercial property or the protected economic property of interest within the crime. The historical common law elements for arson back later times, so about 1800s, was the fire had to be in or near a dwelling, not a commercial structure. The dwelling had to be in possession of another. No one could be convicted of burning his or her own home. The structure itself had to be burned. Merely burning the contents were not arson, and burning had to be malicious, which was interesting because arson was one of the first crimes that prosecutors had to show evil and willful intent when committing the crime. However, by mid-20th century, states adopted that arson was merely a crime against property rather than individuals. I mean, it didn't take away that hurting people, but it was more about crime against property. Arson is a crime because it is the act of willfully and maliciously destroying property of the actual dwelling and whatever's inside of the dwelling. So that can include personal objects or even human beings and such. Another reason why it's a criminal act is because people will try to fraud insurance companies by setting fire to their own properties so they can do insurance fraud to insurance companies. So it's more of a quick rich scheme for them, and it's more of a white collar crime that occurs when this happens. But it's important that the elements of arson are included in this part because it kind of shows you why it is a crime in our society. First part is setting fire to a dwelling or structure in curtilage. Intent to burn or knowing willfully burning, reckless creation of risk of burning. So burning knowing the intent of burning and the outcome of destroying other things within that crime, and the actual burning of the property is another part of that element of the building or the property. The appropriate punishment is it can vary from degrees of arson. Depending on the degree of arson, it could be a felony or misdemeanor. For example, in different states, different state statutes and such, but New York has 5 different degrees of arson. The lowest being a misdemeanor with a minimum of with no more than a year, but also has the highest degree of arson is a A1 felony in New York, which is a minimum of 15 years and a maximum of 25 years. For federal crime and punishment for arson cases, anyone who is found guilty of federal arson can get a minimum of 5 years and a maximum of 20 years. But someone charged with arson resulting from someone getting hurt or personal injury can result of 7 years minimum and a maximum of 40 years. So it really depends on the intent of the person and what is the outcome of the arson crime and what occurs during what happens, the degree of arson they're burning. In conclusion, though, arson has been around from the beginning of time. It's one of the it's been in textbook history books It's a bit of history, and it's a very serious crime that comes with destruction of property, and shouldn't go unpunished, because it can cause other damages to economically and other personal property when burning a specific piece of property. And a person who is charged with arson can face some serious jail time and prison time, and depending on the degree of arson. Thank you so much, and hope you enjoy the video. Bye.